Thank you for being here for this session. Here is our agenda. I'll talk a little bit about county conventions in general, share information on hosting your county convention, the steps as I see it, our plan, promote, recruit, prepare, wrap up. We'll talk about each of those. Talk about conducting your meeting, including topics like quorum, rules of the day, resolutions, parliamentary procedure. Talk about the voting process that we're recommending, and of course, the roles that will be voted on, and share additional resources. So, about county conventions. Hey, Michael, you want to give a sales pitch for why county conventions are so important?
I will do my best. Y'all, county conventions, of course, we have precinct organizing. That's when we're bringing our neighbors together and we're organizing our precincts, electing our delegates to the county convention. But the county convention is where we'll come together to, and even or in odd number of years, to elect our officers, to lead our county parties forward and into the next election cycle. But it's also a place where we can carry on any resolutions that were brought up during precinct organizing and pass them through at the county convention. And overall, y'all, it's another great event in your county to bring more folks, to engage with more folks and bring them into the organization, your local organization. Um, so how was that, Christy?
That was great. Thank you, Michael. We know that the power is built from the ground up, and we have been very focused on precinct organizing, and this is just the next rung up on that. We know that winning in November of this year, winning next year, this is all about the work that that we're all doing together right now so that we have the power, we have the resources to get good Democrats elected. This is a year with a lot of party organizing activities. So we had the winter SEC meeting in February. Next up is the precinct annual meeting period here from the 16th through the 29th. County conventions are ideally being held April 13th through the 26th. And then, of course, we've got congressional district conventions in May and the summer SEC meeting in late June. Those aren't on your calendar yet, save the date. This is roughly how I think of our party organization and the structure. There are so many precincts across the state, 2,659. What we're focused on talking about today is at the county level, across all 100 counties. The precincts, of course, filter information up to the counties. The counties roll up to the congressional districts. And at the national level, which, I don't really mean this as like a hierarchy. It's just kind of more about a funnel. But the national level, the alphabet soup of acronyms, the Democratic National Committee, the Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee, Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, and the Democratic Governors Association. Those are all organizations that work to get Democrats elected all over the country. Ideally, when this is working well, information from the precinct level, from the grassroots, it's making its way up to the grass tops, up to the national organizations, and they are sharing down information, resources, strategy. So information's going up and down this whole funnel. Michael is going to drop in the chat the link for the party plan of organization. Late breaking news, this has just been updated. So there were some changes that were made at the winter SEC meeting. You can see the date on this version is February 22nd, 2025. So that was the SEC meeting. So the changes that were approved there are now reflected in this document. This is what you should be referring to if you have any questions. I have a bookmark to the party plan of organization on my desktop. I actually have a printout, but now my printout's out of date. I reference it all the time. I'm likely to do a keyword search if I'm looking for something in particular. For this session, pages 20 to 31 are about county organizing. Also, recent update here, and Michael will drop this in the chat. The county convention packet, and I just released that yesterday, day before. So the county convention packet is available now. This training is built on the information in the county convention packet, which is itself built on the information in the party plan of organization. If you have questions and there's something not covered in this training or in the packet, the plan of organization is your source of truth to find that information. I'm going to repeat myself here, but we know that this looks different in every county. Um, but ultimately, we're all trying to accomplish the same objectives. It is, as Michael was saying, it's an opportunity for like-minded people to get together, Democrats to gather and commiserate and strategize and talk to each other in ways that make us think, okay, I'm not alone. I'm in this with other people. That is very valuable. And we're also working to inspire volunteers, whether they're existing volunteers or new people who are getting involved for the first time, and talk about what we are going to accomplish in the next 2 years, what our vision is. And we have party business. So here's the list of what we are looking to accomplish in these meetings. Of course, we need to meet quorum, and I will share the definition for that here in just a little bit. We will be electing county level officers, electing delegates to the State Executive Committee, the SEC. We will be electing delegates to district convention, voting on resolutions or any county level platform stuff. And it is another opportunity to collect donations for the county parties, contributions towards the sustaining fund. But when we've got people in a room, we always want to give them actions to take and remind people that it does take money to fund this entire apparatus. So that is the business of the day. This is one part of a multi-part series of trainings. I did a similar structure for precinct organizing. This is the last session for planning county conventions, but I am recording this so people can watch it later. I have on March 20th and April 3rd a session on being a county party leader. This is really geared towards people who are trying to be recruited. If there's someone you're like, I've got a gap on our county officer team, and I'm trying to recruit somebody and they're a little bit on the fence, feel free to sign them up for this. We'll talk about why it's so important, talk about the roles and the responsibilities at a really high level. The session that we've done to recruit precinct leaders has been really well received. So send your county party recruits to this. If there are new people in your county party that just kind of want to hear a little bit about how we think about the structure, that can be a good session. I will be sharing information as we go through this on the voting tool. So we're going to have Michael and I are going to have a training session here in April. We got a lot of really good feedback from the winter SEC meeting about how the voting went. And so Michael put a tremendous amount of time and smarts into building the voting tool. The front end, the Google Sheet is fairly simple. The back end on how it's calculated is really robust. And Michael has also turned it into a weighted voting tool. So in April, we'll have training for county parties who want to use that tool. You don't have to. If you've got a system that works for you, have at it. But for counties who have maybe struggled with particularly weighted voting can be tricky. We're going to walk through our tool so that people can use that if they're interested. I need to update everything in this other blue box. So we are planning to do all day in-person workshops for county officers. We're going to do them in the East, the West, and in the Piedmont region. But I think these dates are actually going to move around. We were trying to time it around district conventions, but some of the districts are holding their conventions outside of the timing that we anticipated. So these dates might move around. You could still go ahead and sign up for these if you want. Just know that there will be some date changes. But really excited about this program and the investment that the party is looking to make in our county party officers. And whether people are new officers or continuing, hopefully this session will be really helpful. More to come on this, but for now, it's kind of a save the date thing. You don't have to go to the one in your region. Might be the one you try first, but if that doesn't work, maybe you can go to one of the other ones. And then in June, my plan is to take those all day sessions, break it into 90-minute chunks, and try to do it over Zoom. Okay, that was a really long preamble today. I'm going to talk next about hosting, organizing the convention, and the steps involved in that. But before I move on, I'm just going to pause and see if there are any questions before I move on. I don't see anything in the chat, but if I miss something,
Christy,
holler. Yes.
I don't see any questions in the chat. So if folks do want to put questions in that they have in the chat, I did want to, I know you just got done saying it, but I just wanted to put more emphasis in it because I see some of my Western folks in here. Y'all, for those regional county party chair workshops, even if that's not a date that is going to work at the moment because of county or because of district conventions, please sign up. Please, please, please sign up. So that way you get the information about when the date changes and the location that we're going to have it in. And that way we also know that you're coming. But yeah, there is a question in the chat now from Jim. Will all these trainings be visible on NDTC sites? I think that's the National Democratic Training Committee. I can say that it won't be, not these particular trainings, but I'll pass it over to you, Christy, on how folks can find these.
Yeah, so NDTC is a branch of the Democratic National Committee. So it's a national organization. So like they're not posting and promoting my stuff. I sometimes promote and share their resources. Um, what I can say is that when I send the follow-up email tomorrow for this session, it will include the North Carolina Democratic Party's training calendar that I own, and I'll share that. And so you can see that calendar and everything that's coming up. I also got a question the last time I delivered this session. Um, Questions around distribution lists for the various vice chairs because they kind of have, generally distinct roles and responsibilities. So we're thinking about how we can do that. And I'll probably mention this again when I get to that section of this training. So more to come on that front. Okay. Hosting your county convention. These are the steps as I see them. So I'm going to share a little bit of suggestions and tasks involved in these parts: plan, promote, recruit, prepare, and wrap up. When it comes to planning, first up is making some logistical decisions. Pick your date. Think about if you're going to be in person, virtual, or hybrid. If you're going to be in person, find your location. Um, reference here the plan of organization again. And the third checkbox on this page, please complete this Google form and let us know when your county convention is scheduled. We then use that, we post it on our website, we promote it as we are talking about county organizing. When I look right now at the county convention website on the NCDP website, saying that word too often. But when I look at the list of when county conventions are, I think we only know about 4 of them so far. Orange, maybe Nash. So it's not very many of our 100. I suspect more counties are further along in their planning and just haven't maybe had an opportunity to share that information with us yet. So please, when you have your plan, date, time, logistics, be sure to fill out that form, and then the regional organizing directors, Michael and his colleagues, will be notified. Promote. So fill out that Google form so we can help promote it as well. But post about your meeting online. Whatever digital assets you have, now's the time to use them. You have a county party website and or a Facebook page, your social media accounts. You probably have some kind of email distribution lists. Make sure you are reminding people multiple times that your county convention's coming up. Make sure you invite all of the county convention delegates who are elected at the precinct meetings. So I have a session later today. I'll talk about a little bit on getting all of this information in Vote Builder. So after precinct meetings, getting all the information in Vote Builder will help you then pull a list to say, let me pull everybody who is a 2025 county convention delegate and make sure I am emailing and calling. Email is great. It's fast. You can hit a lot of people very quickly, and nobody reads their email. So I really recommend that you also pull together a group of people and make phone calls. Michael and the other organizing directors can help pull a phone bank list for you. So feel free to reach out to them for that. And you may also want to promote this with any local media outlets you have when it comes to recruitment. So the elected roles are the chair, the three vice chairs. I think there are a couple of counties that might have a fourth vice chair, however many vice chairs you have, and the secretary. So each of those roles need to be elected at this meeting. Do you know who is going to run for those roles? Are there any roles? Yeah, Wake has regional too. Yeah. Are there any roles where you have a gap and so you need to recruit and find somebody who's willing to serve in that role? The treasurer, of course, is appointed. Is your treasurer continuing? Hopefully they are. This is a very specialized skill set and a lot of really important information. But if your treasurer isn't continuing, make sure you're keeping in mind who you can recruit for that. There are also a couple of volunteer roles that you might want to think about. One is somebody to do the data entry. So, do you have a vote builder administrator who is handling doing all this data entry, or do you need to recruit somebody for that role? Also, when it comes to sustaining funds, we recommend recruiting a sustaining fund chair or a fundraising chair to raise money for the sustaining fund and for the county party. I'm going to mention again, and Michael will drop the link here. This is the training session to give my best sales pitch for why people should, in fact, be county party leaders. So if you're trying to recruit people, send them here. I'll share some basic information about what the role entails, hopefully inspire them to take on the leadership role and recognize that it is not as daunting as maybe some people fear at first. And then I'll send them right back to you. So feel free to shift people into that. There's one other thing coming up that might be helpful. The timing isn't as great for recruiting leaders for county officer roles, but in partnership with Lead NC, we're hosting this recruiting and scouting workshop on Monday, April 14th. Lead NC is an organization that specifically recruits people to run for office. And so that's what the training will be geared towards. However, the principles for identifying and recruiting leaders can also apply to county party leaders, precinct leaders, any kind of leaders that you're trying to recruit. So that could be a helpful session if there are gaps in your county officer roster, or if you're looking ahead. In the business world, we would talk about succession planning. I know there's some county chairs who are like, I maybe don't want to do this forever. Maybe there's somebody who wants to step up in the future. So if you're thinking 2 years, 4 years down the road that you might want to pass the baton, this could be a good session to attend. I just messed up my own screen. Give me one moment. There we go. Okay, sorry about that. Prep. So preparing for your convention, you're going to want to plan your agenda. There is a sample agenda included in the packet, so you could use that as your starting point and adapt it as makes sense for your county. Prepare your remarks. So if you are the current county chair or another leader, um, you might have an opportunity to give a small speech. What did you accomplish in 2024? What are you aiming to accomplish in this next 2-year period? How are you going to get there? So think about preparing your remarks in advance. Plan your calls to action. This is really about building momentum. I had the same conversation when it came to preparing for precinct meetings. I never want people to show up to an event and not give them the next action they can take. And I do that in these trainings, right? I'm talking about here's the next training or the next event to attend. You should be thinking about that too for your county conventions. What do you want people to do next? County conventions are required by the party plan of organization, but if this is just a check the box exercise, it's really a missed opportunity. So think about how to build momentum. What activities are you planning in the county that you want people to get involved in? Certainly, I hope that you're going to promote the county leader workshops and make sure your new county leaders are attending that as well. Do we have resources you want to promote? Do you have resources to promote? But make sure you have thought about what you want people to do next and you're doing what you can to make it easy for them to sign up. If you are going to host a hybrid or Zoom county convention, you might want to practice some of those Zoom functions, do a little dress rehearsal, get a couple of you together on a Zoom and make sure you know how to mute and unmute and manage the chat. And will you need breakout rooms? So think about that in advance. I'm always a big fan of confirmation calls. So you put so much effort into making sure people attend. Let's make those confirm calls, make sure they actually show up. And think about how you will be collecting donations for your county party, for the sustaining funds. Uh, will you have envelopes? Will you direct people to Act Blue? If you're collecting money in person, you need to know people's occupation and employer. If they're retired, just put retired. But think in advance about how you'll be collecting those donations. When it comes to the wrap up, you should enter the information you collect into Vote Builder within 5 days of the meeting. So that means indicating who attended the meeting, tagging the elected officers in Vote Builder, tagging the district convention delegates, SEC members. So make sure that is getting updated in Vote Builder. Doing this work here up front will make downstream work a little bit easier. And we have put a tremendous amount of effort into trying to have a really high quality, accurate list of SEC members, which will be critically important when we get close to the June SEC meeting. Um, we need to rely on the county chairs to have the information tagged in Vote Builder so that we can pull good lists. Give me 1 second, Diane. Let me see if, oh, here are the activist codes in Vote Builder. This will be shared with you when I send the follow-up email. And Michael might have dropped this in the chat, but this evening and again on the 18th, I'm leading a training session that will go into more specifics on getting that information into Vote Builder. Diane, go ahead. Oh, you're muted.
You said to send the checks to, but is there an electronic way to submit our funds? I mean,
I don't have more detail on that, but I think a lot of the counties have an Act Blue page. Nye or Michael, do you have any deeper information on that?
I do not. but I can reach out to our treasurer and get an answer on the preferred method for folks who would like to submit their sustaining funds virtually.
Because my treasurer has been in and out all year, so I've been double duty.
Mhm.
And I thought if she knew, I don't know, but you would know because I know she likes to do, she said techie, and she is a virtual finance officer slash treasurer for a national organization.
Oh,
So she
wow.
knows how to do that stuff. But I was going to say if she knows how, and she's not in contact because right now she's not, I would like to know how to do it.
Yeah, yeah. I'll get an answer and then I can email it to all of the county chairs so everyone has that information.
Thanks.
Mhm.
Adding to that question, this might be for Nye. There was a question in the chat, and I'm sorry, Christy. Are you on the questions, the Q&A section? I didn't want to jump
I
ahead of you.
am. No, 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 I am.
Cool.
Go ahead.
There was a question in the chat, and I think this is a question for Nye. Let's scroll back to it. Is there a due date for the sustaining funds to be paid to NCDP? And you're muted, Nye.
So we ask that everything be submitted at least 5 days, by 5 days after county conventions. I think that date is, if I have it correct, maybe May 2nd. I'll double check because I think it is May 2nd. But that's like the time frame we ask for stuff to be in. But at least like in a reasonable amount of time because we're gonna shift from counties to districts, and I want to make sure that I'm able to help support counties in answering their questions.
Awesome. There's a couple of other questions in the chat. One of them, to the second part of the question that I just asked, can people, I see this being asked quite a bit, can people who are not delegates attend the convention? The answer is yes. Anyone can attend the convention. As a matter of fact, our plan of organization makes it so we have open meetings to where anyone can attend the convention, but only delegates, convention delegates who are elected at your precinct organizing meetings this month will be able to cast a vote or ballot at the convention.
Michael, I just
Yes.
want to add a nuance to what you just said. Any Democrat can attend.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So there's a question from Andrea. I don't know the answer to. Currently the LGBTQ plus Dems president in the county, running for county chair. When do they need to step down if they win chair?
If you win chair, you would like kind of immediately is the right phrase because you can't hold two offices simultaneously. So if you were to become county chair, you would simultaneously be resigning from your role as auxiliary leader.
Thank you. I learned something new.
Yeah.
Okay, precincts who organize outside of the
Precinct organizing meeting.
official, yeah, precinct organizing meeting period, but before county convention, can they be added to vote builder? So what is the time period? There's X number of days you have to have been elected as a precinct officer and able to vote at county convention.
Christy,
Yes,
can I clarify my question?
yes, yes.
So if we're working to organize 18 precincts and we get 12 that are completed by March 29th, but we still have three in flight. They get organized April 1st, April 8th, April 10th. Our county convention is late April, the 26th, I believe, for us. Can I continue to add their names to Vote Builder and continue to forward funds collected in those precinct meetings to NCDP?
I'm going to say yes to both. So I'm working on the Vote Builder training part of this for tonight, and like
Okay.
we should always be updating Vote Builder as people are added or removed.
Okay.
So yes, please tag them.
Yeah, it's not an attempt to ignore the deadline for the precinct annual meetings. It's just, best efforts being what they are, we need to allow for some slack. in
Yeah.
our
Oh,
terms.
absolutely. In fact,
Yeah.
I'm trying to organize my precinct, and I don't think we're going to meet quorum.
Okay.
Michael, I saw your hand up.
I was going to get into details. Probably don't want to. I was actually just going to be a little specific. Definitely, you can organize anytime throughout the year. Organize your precinct. If you don't get to it, if you're not able to organize a precinct, um, by the end of March, you're still able to organize precincts. I would say that, like Christy, anytime if you send a sustaining fund, because you organized the precinct a little late, before your county convention, of course, the one thing that I think might be something that would hold you up on the county convention side is electing the delegates for the precinct. So I would be worried about electing a voting delegate for a precinct a week out from the convention because you have to have 2 weeks notice before the convention for all your resolutions and just to know the date and time and give people time to look over everything, etc. Right.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing I would consider
Okay.
is just making sure that either one, you have that 2 weeks notice and also keeping in mind um, organizing outside of the timeline. And this is specifically for having voting delegates at convention. Organizing outside of that timeline could leave you open to leave your county party open to what's the word I'm looking for? Uh,
Irregularities.
Yeah,
Challenge.
yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Not
Okay.
non-compliance with the plan of
Yeah.
organization and
Yeah.
stuff like that. But
Good.
yeah,
Good. Thank you, Michael. One
Okay.
follow-up question, please. It's my understanding that NCDP will bill or send an invoice to the counties for the sustaining fund at a later date. Is that still the case? Is that how that works? Rather than us sending, checks and cash and other things to you, at all times from now on?
I think I feel like I have 85% confidence that that's right.
Okay. Okay. Very
It's
good.
not my area of expertise, but I remember
This
overhearing those
this is my
conversations
first
last
year.
year.
Yeah. So, okay.
Hey,
Thank you.
maybe Susan has the answer. Susan's hand was up.
Oh my gosh, no. The mute is always a struggle for me. No, I had another question. I don't have an answer. I'm sorry.
Diane, okay, give me one moment because Diane
You
is
come right back to me. That's fine.
very raising her hand. So let me unmute you.
We are given the amount of delegates for the county convention and the amount of sustaining funds to collect during our precinct meetings. I don't think we've ever got a bill. So you take that chart and decide how much that it totals up and send that much in. I don't believe we ever got a bill. We just send it in after the precinct. We've always found, even though we are very red and a very little county, we've always got our sustaining funds, maybe because we are little. But if one of our precinct owes $15, someone will throw out 20. You have to get their name and all that stuff for every little donation, no matter how little it is. So,
Thank you, Diane. I'm thinking, Nye, maybe this is another question you could get clarifying information.
and
And
there's a link on, no, didn't you give us the precinct link package? And
Yes. So,
it's
yes.
in
So I was
there.
gonna say I distributed the Google sheet that has how what the sustaining funds are for each precinct, and it's broken down by population.
okay, we had a question from Alfreda, then Susan, then Rosa, and then I'm going to move to the next section to make sure that we get through the content. Um, Actually, Alfreda, I think was first. You had a question about entering the information, and the Google form was shared in the chat. So if that didn't work for you or you have more questions, holler. Otherwise, I think maybe we got you what you needed. Susan, what was your
Real
question?
quick question. At the county chair's call Tuesday, we were shown the spreadsheet that shows how many SEC members that we elect
I'm
and
going to
some
get
other
there.
information. Okay, because I still don't have access.
I remind me if I don't give you what you need, but I think it's coming up in just a couple of slides. Rosa, I see your hands up.
Yeah, just to be clear. So after my county convention, no, my precinct organizing meeting is the 22nd of this month. My county convention is the 26th of April. I can organize precincts up to 2 weeks before my county convention and count them as delegates. Is that
No,
what you said, Michael?
no. I would be weary, and maybe bringing Nye into this for a little clarification. I would be weary of electing delegates outside of the designated time frame. So anything after the
Okay.
29th, you can organize a precinct anytime through the year. But as far as electing delegates to be able to vote for that precinct at the county convention, you won't be able to do so per the plan of organization.
Okay.
I echo Michael.
Thank you.
Okay, let's talk about conducting your meeting. I think we should have time for some questions afterwards. This is the definition for what is required for quorum. So at least one official delegate from 50% plus one of the precincts with duly elected delegates. And I do want to point out here that this is not an occasion where proxies count. In the county convention packet, there is a sample rules of the day. So you can use that as your starting point, much like the agenda. Look at what's in the packet, decide if you want to make any adjustments, but you can use that as your starting point for the rules of the day. When it comes to resolutions, we always recommend that you make a resolutions committee. There are people who are very passionate about this work. It can be very time consuming. To have a well-run county convention, we recommend you set up a resolutions committee beforehand so that they can do a lot of the messy democratic work it takes to have strong resolutions to present at the county convention. So consider setting up a committee to work on that. Resolutions need to be submitted in writing, not extemporaneously spoken or anything handwritten. And generally, not generally, by rule, resolutions have four components. There's a title, which describes the content, and it is written in all caps. There is a preamble. These are the whereas statements, the background or rationale for the resolution. There are the resolving clauses, so what action you are recommending or asking to be taken. And then the submission statement, which says this is who signed on to it and the body to which it was submitted. So I'm going to go out of order here. There is an example resolution in the packet. This is again not an area of my expertise, but it will show you all of those components and what it looks like. They are written in, very specific type language. So you probably want to follow that example. So if your county has resolutions that came from the precincts, you'll need to bring them to the floor for a vote at your county convention. And the resolutions that are passed at the county convention should be certified by the secretary and sent to the appropriate district chair within 5 days after your county convention. That's the process for resolutions. Parliamentary procedure, like nothing gets more glamorous than this. Uh, so Robert's Rules of Order is what we follow. Michael just dropped in the chat. There is a training that was created on Robert's Rules of Order before my time, a couple of years ago, maybe 2021. He just shared that in the chat. And what you see on the screen, this is the table of contents. This is the agenda of that training. So if you want to brush up, if you want to appoint, recruit, have a parliamentarian, this might be a good resource for them to use. Okay, that was quorum, rules of the day, resolutions, Robert's rules. I'm going to jump into voting and the roles we're voting on. So at county conventions, we will elect county officers. We will elect county delegates to the state executive committee, the SEC, which is different than the state executive council. Same acronym, different body. And also electing delegates to district convention. For the roles, the county officers, the county chair, first vice chair, second vice chair, third vice chair, secretary, and for some of those counties that have other roles. There is a lot of detail in the party plan of organization about the responsibilities and expectations for these roles. What I've taken here is a summary in um, the party plan of organization is kind of written legalese, which I find a little challenging personally. So this is kind of more conversational language, how I think about how I define these roles. And I also understand that some counties, maybe who does this or that might flex a little bit. Some counties have some other roles. But this is the starting point, the standard for these positions. So the county chair, my little icon here, this is the leader. This is the person who is leading the county Democrats. They will attend the state executive committee meetings, organize and lead county party meetings. So like once a month, here's the county party meeting. They are responsible for developing and executing the strategic plan. There are resources to support this. The organizing team, Michael and his colleagues. The county chair is also the person who appoints the treasurer in consultation, collaboration with the entire leadership team. And the county chair is responsible for planning and holding precinct organizing meetings and the county convention. The first vice chair, this is kind of our top organizer. So I've got my little door knocking icon here. This person first is going to tell the precinct chairs how many votes each precinct gets to cast at the county executive committee and county conventions. And this person's primary responsibility is coordinating the precincts and party organizing efforts within the county. Second vice chair is kind of the trainer. So planning and organizing training sessions. And this is where the conversation I mentioned earlier, last time I delivered this training, someone was like, hey, do you have a distribution list for all the people who are the first vice chair, the second vice chair, the third vice chair? So we are thinking about how to do that. I have an email I send every week about what I'm doing on the training front. And I realized after this conversation that it's going to the party chairs. And I probably should be sending it to the second vice chairs because not all of the chairs cascade or forward that information along. So if anyone here is a second vice chair and wants to get my training email, send me a note or respond when I send the post-event email tomorrow and let me know and I'll add you. But we're giving some thought to how we might structure distribution lists for the various roles. The third vice chair is kind of like the publicity chair. So this is probably the person who is managing your website and your social media accounts, maybe doing letters to the editor, things like that. So those were the vice chairs. And then the secretary takes the meeting minutes, distributes those. There's some other responsibilities. For example, we just saw if resolutions are passed, it's the secretary's responsibility to notice that to the district, things like that. The treasurer, again, this is a very specialized role. This person is not elected, they are appointed. It doesn't have to change. It can be someone who serves in this role for quite a while. Their responsibilities are to maintain the treasury at an insured commercial bank. So this isn't, a shoebox or it's not mingling your funds with your personal accounts. Like this is a separate account. This person maintains all records of the money in and the money out. They have specific reports to file. I think that the first filing deadline for this year will come up in July. And this person may be your sustaining fund committee chair. They're probably spending a lot of time working on fundraising for your county and for the sustaining fund. For all of these roles, minus the treasurer, which is a little bit special, but this is a 2-year term. Everybody should be attending the county party meetings. This second point is really important right now. We're going through a period where there might be transition. So when somebody is no longer serving in that county officer role, they are expected to share all of the assets and records with their successor within 10 days of vacating that role. So this means if you're the social chair, you're the publicity chair, you've probably got passwords to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Share those passwords. You might have a shared drive. You might have an email account that is like, Transylvania County First Vice Chair at gmail.com. Like that is an asset that should go to your successor. So this is really important, particularly in this period we're going through right now, where some of these roles might change. For people coming into this role, know that this will be expected of you when you leave the role, whether you're choosing to leave or you're not reelected. And think about laying the groundwork perhaps for some of this now and gathering these resources so that if somebody leaves the role, you have that. This would be a good thing for like a chair to send an email right now to all of the vice chairs, all of the officers, and say, as a reminder, this is what we'll need to do. Let's go ahead and gather it up now just in case. I'm hitting this point because I get a little frustrated when we have to recreate the wheel. I don't like recreating the wheel. When I leave this role, I want to leave it in good condition and I want to share all the assets and resources I've developed with the next person because I care about Democrats winning. And so I don't want to start somebody off without all the resources that they need. Thank you. Okay. The other thing is that we all just pitch in, right? So this is why I got the hands all together. What else needs done? We're just going to pitch in and do it because we care about what we're working on. Okay. We're also electing delegates to the State Executive Committee. So this, of course, the SEC is I think for the recent winter SEC, there were 600-ish people in the body. The big responsibility this body just had was electing the state party officers. Meets twice a year. Their primary responsibility changes based on if it's an odd number year, an even number year, kind of what's going on. Also, electing delegates to the district convention. And I don't remember who asked, Susan maybe. Here we go. Michael's going to drop this link in the chat. This is the spreadsheet for your delegate allocations. Nye, I changed your color coding. I hope that's okay. But I wanted to draw a distinction here between the SEC delegates, which is on one tab of this Google Sheet, and the district delegates, which is on a different tab of the sheet. So I think the sharing permissions are set, so you should be able to see this. If not, type in the chat and we'll see what adjustments we need to make. But this is where you will find the number of delegates by county for the SEC and by district for the district convention. Voting is weighted by precinct. So there's basically here we've got one vote for every 100 votes that were cast for the Democratic gubernatorial candidate. So for Josh Stein, there was a change to the party plan of organization in 2024. So precincts are entitled to the full weight of their vote as long as they have elected 5 delegates or the number that they are allocated, whichever is less. And then the vote allocation is divided equally among the delegates who are in attendance at the meeting. In the interest of time, I'm going to keep moving, but I want you to know this page is here with some examples of what that allocation might look like. But I want to make sure I get to all the slides. Okay, so I mentioned Michael built the voting tool we used at the winter SEC meeting. This is kind of what it looks like on the back end. So he has turned that into a template that we are sharing with county parties in case you want to use it. The training for this is April 2nd and 7th at 6 p.m. It'll be the same training. You only need to go once. But we are preparing to roll that out so that people can use that tool. Let me buzz these last couple of slides. Oh, let me stop my screen, stop recording.